You know, it was once I was so broke, I couldn't even pay my deposit for one of my retail stores. My friend said, okay, you know what, here's 1 million, you just take first. So I have friends who actually...
Oh, what? Oh, yeah. I find friends like this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should restart this interview. We just focus on this question. Hi, hello, welcome to Hello Mentor Season 2, Episode 3. I am Derek and I'll be the host for this episode. Today we have a very special guest with us, the one and only Christy Ng, from CEO of ChristyNg.com.
Hello, and so nice. Thanks for having me here. And this is the first time meeting you face to face.
Yes, I know. Like I obviously heard so much about you, but I've actually met you in person as a customer. You may not know this. Many years.
Oh, okay.
When you had your first shop, I think it's in Damansara Uptown.
Oh, that's really long ago, man.
Yes, it was very long. I remember my wife and I, we were, well, my then girlfriend, but now wife, we were looking for like wedding shoes. And she went in and we got some, and actually she wore your shoes for our wedding.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when I actually met you first time. But this was like, at least 10 years ago.
Yeah, a decade ago. That shows how old we are, man.
I know, and I'm so impressed at how you've grown.
Thank you.
You know, our topic today is about breaking barriers and pushing past limits. And we want to help a lot of people like sort of figure out from your personal experience, so what you did, what your stories are like. So just to jump straight in, can you share more, maybe a little bit about your early life, the challenges you faced, when you were growing up, and how these experiences sort of shaped who you are today, like that, or give you that entrepreneurial spirit?
I came from a very humble beginning. Okay, so my dad washes air conditioners for a living. My mom is just a housewife. So we didn't have much to begin with, and money was always very hard to come by. So I had to be very prudent, I had to be very frugal, and I always have to think of ways to like cover my own expenses. So I think at a very young age, I knew that I need money. If I don't have money, I can't survive. So I started selling flowers at the LRT station. That was like my first job. So I was 9 years old.
Years old?
Yes. And I needed income to pay for something. To buy something or buy a book or something like that, and then my mom said, we don't have money. If you want something, you got to earn it yourself. You got to pay for it yourself.
Wow.
So I went to the LRT station because that time they were just building the Klanajaya LRT station, and I saw a lot of people going in and out. So I decided to stand there and sell flowers. Yeah, and it worked really well. People like sell to random strangers and they will buy it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So that was my first entrepreneurial experience, and I was really stoked because I could make my own money, and I could buy like whatever I want. I could buy like magic cards or whatever, with the money that I had.
Oh,
Whatever, anything I like, could buy G2 gel pen. That was what I wanted when I was younger.
I see, right.
Yeah, so I think that shaped that go-getter spirit and like the that gung-ho-ness, and then I did other kind of jobs, I sold ice cream for like 3 ringgit an hour, so in shopping malls, I was like a retail promoter at a children's department, folding children's clothing.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of really random jobs. I worked in a restaurant before. I actually worked, this is Plaza TTDI, right? Actually, I worked here before. Last time there was a entertainment bar here. Last I used to work there as a waitress before. So I did all sorts of jobs, and I think that sort of like gave me a lot of exposure. Besides my education, I had a lot of exposure, like meeting new people and having new ideas.
Got it.
So that was how I started
Yeah, it sounds like gave you a very kind of entrepreneur, that hustling kind of spirit, right? You're always meeting new people, trying new things and all that.
It was like the University of Society, lah.
The University of Society, right?
Yes.
Right. And from this kind of experience, kind of trying to make money yourself and sort of, being very hands-on, right? In kind of building your own career. How did it eventually lead to you sort of starting that? Because it started as shoes, right? Like a shoe company.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Okay, so after Form 5, I followed a bunch of my friends to Thailand, Hat Yai actually, specifically for a holiday. Right. And while on holiday, I stumbled upon a shoe wholesale city, like a small little area where everyone was like selling shoes.
Okay.
And the shoes were so beautiful and they were so cheap, It was like 100 baht for a pair, which was 10 ringgit at that point of time. So I bought 4 or 5 pairs because it was so cheap and it was so beautiful, and I wore them in KL, and all my girlfriends were, you know, they were saying that they loved what I bought. They loved the shoes that I bought. And, you know, my friend said to me, can I give you 50 ringgit? You sell to me whatever you're wearing. So I said, okay, next time I'll go, I'll help all of you buy. So everyone started giving me money, and I was like a personal shopper. So I was like going back and fro to Thailand to buy shoes for all my friends. I said, wow. And I told them, no, I said, I bought it for 100. Now we'll pay you 5 times because it's so cheap. It's cheaper than all the other shoe brands in the country, in the market at that point of time. So, so they're willing to pay me 5 times for my service.
I see.
Yeah, to buy shoes for them. So I kept doing that, and, you know, more and more people were giving me shopping lists. And they said, well, we trust your taste. You just pick for me. I have this dress. You just match it for me. So that's how I started. And they like my taste. They like how I pick things for them.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how it started.
Right. So it wasn't just that you sort of buying thing like you buy a product that is not expensive for them, but they also rely on you to pick the design for them, right?
Yeah. So I started. So I didn't have. I didn't have like a big vision. I want to start a shoe company. I don't have any vision one. It's just that my friend asked me to buy shoe, then I go and buy for them. It was that simple. I didn't even think it would go this far.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And then, at what point do you think, I need to make this a business?
Oh yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So that was one. After that, after buying for my friends, I started to do flea market.
Okay.
So I was at the Curve Flea Market. I was like in Pasar Malam, by the roadside. I even sold shoes in my boot, and people would buy it from me. So it was like a gig, and I did it all the way until I graduated from university, and then I got a real job. So my first job was in a pharmaceutical company. Okay. And I did that for 2 years, and then I got really restless. So then I decided to continue doing this shoe thingy. But this time I noticed that, a lot of people were doing the same thing as me. They were going to Thailand, the same source, and procuring the same kind of shoes that I was selling, and they were selling it much cheaper. So the margins have deteriorated tremendously because of the competition. Right. Yeah. I had the early starters advantage, but later when people the market was so crowded with people doing the same thing. Right. So then my friend said to me, hey, why don't you, since you love to draw and you're pretty good at drawing, why don't you come up with your own design? I'm like, oh, really? Can? Then my friend was like, yes, but go back to the suppliers and ask them to make for you, because you are like you've been buying for so many years. Can't you just use your relationships that you have with the makers and get them to, make the shoes that unique designs.
I see.
I said, what do I call my brand? I said, create your own brand. What do I call my brand? Oh, since you design, put your own name. You become designer. I'm like, can? I didn't study fashion. I didn't, I don't have a fashion degree. I got no idea what I'm doing. Then my friend said, don't worry, just put your name, become designer. So designer, you can charge higher. Right. So that was how the idea was born, in a badminton court at 3 a.m. one night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was so random, and it happened so fast. I wasn't thinking. When you're young, you're naive, you don't think very much, you just do. So that's how I started. I didn't have I don't know what I'm doing, just do.
I see. Right. So it's just like a moment like that. And
a moment.
And you decided.
3 a.m. with a bunch of people. Yeah. Right. And that's how I started, and I never looked back. Right. Yeah, it was really because the response was really good. I mean, if I would have stopped if the results were not good, but the results were really, people really liked what I did. The early batch of shoes that I sold, and I think that was the birth of... At that time, Facebook was just getting popular in Malaysia.
I see.
So I just took a few pictures and I posted them on Facebook. Right. And I put my handphone number there. Last time, I don't know what is website or this thing one. Right. I was so blur. Right. I just put my handphone number. I say, call me if you want to buy it. And then the phone rang non-stop. Right. Whole day, I'm answering phone to sell shoes to random strangers. Right. Then those days, Facebook, if you post a picture, right, it will go... very, very viral very fast, even though you don't buy ads, because there were so few users. Right. And then I just got my first credit card because I had a proper job. So I saw Facebook advertising. So I just put 10 ringgit and I blast the ad. I press boost ad. Right. Oh my God, non-stop. Right. It's like $10, the whole country can see your ad. Those days, I'm talking about 2011 era or 2010 era. 10 ringgit, whole country can see your ad. Wow, okay. So I think I started at the right time, and the time ads were cheap, and social media, not many brands were on social media that time. Right. So I rode that wave up lah. timing. I think my timing was perfect.
In a way, you were early lah. The same like when you first you imported shoes from Thailand, you were early. Either the later competition came in.
Correct. I illegally smuggling shoes in from Thailand, crossed the border.
Well, that's what happens, right? So even with Facebook, like you said, it was a easy way to reach a customer, a cheap way to reach them in the beginning. But then later you got crowded also.
Yes.
Right. And then is that the moment you decided to set up a shop, or what was the moment?
Okay. So the moment I decided to set up a store was in 2016. We opened our first store at One Utama Shopping Mall. The opportunity just came, and I also realized that when 2016, the ads were just getting so expensive, and return on ad spend is just deteriorating rapidly.
Right.
Now it's even worse. So ad spend has been really, really expensive, and so that's when we start opening our first retail store. And then we realized that paying for rental in a shopping mall is cheaper than buying ads, It can work out to be cheaper, yes.
Right.
Because you get like ready customers walk in your store, and then the conversion rates are there pretty high. And because malls, they cluster the same type of tenant together, like fashion, all the fashion tenants get clustered together. So the people that are patronizing the area, they have real intent to make a purchase.
I see.
So that's when malls work really, really well for us.
Right.
So the rental versus the sale is really justifiable to open the store. So when we realized that it was really cost effective to open stores, so stores are like physical stores are somewhat like billboards. They're like advertisement also.
Right.
Then we started scaling from there. We kept opening.
Right.
Yeah, as long as the return on ad spend or the cost to convert a new customer is low,
right?
We're just going for the lowest number we can get to convert a new customer. And also we want to have more touch points for our existing customers to come back and make repeat purchases.
Right.
So that's how I think that was the rationale. It's not really rocket science. It's just save money, cheap.
Right. I find it quite interesting. Like you're really quite data driven in a way, like very number driven.
Yeah, when you have no money, right? I tell you, your maths become good.
Suddenly you're fashion designer, you're a mathematician. But before you set up that first store, you obviously wouldn't know, right, what kind of return or how expensive it would be. So did you just kind of jump in, or do you have some kind of research you already done?
Oh, okay. So basically, my colleague sat in front of the store that the landlord offered to us from morning to night, and calculated how many people walk past by. And very interesting enough, if you've been to my One Utama store, it's next to Incumbent, a very popular shoe brand as well.
Right.
And then we just did an observation. Wow, there's so many customers walking in their store morning to night. So we think, never mind, we get half of their customer, or 1/3 also can cover rental. So we just made that assumption based on the footfall that they were already getting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's all the way in the corner, my unit in One Utama. And at first I was quite reluctant to take it because I felt that there's not much visibility in terms of like not much presence because it's right at the corner. Then I started to notice there's an escalator in front of my shop, escalator up and down, and that was bringing in a lot of footfall. And because I'm near Eon, a lot of people walking in and out, and there's also like the offices which are somewhat connected nearby my unit,
right.
And that was giving heavy traffic, especially during weekdays. So how I decide whether to open in a mall or not, I'll look at the weekday traffic. Because weekend everywhere is crowded. Right. So it's the weekdays. So after a while, I have like a consistent office crowd coming in every single weekday. I've got their hotels there as well, and a lot of grade A offices with so many MNCs there. Oh, it's kind of even impossible to fail or not be crowded. If this one cannot do, means just close. Right. You get what I mean? Right. Like if I cannot make it here, then it's going to be worse if I open somewhere else.
Right.
Like, I mean, meet all the checklists. Like, it's a destinational mall. It's also a neighborhood mall. It has a very strong footfall, and just by numbers alone, you're assuming there's like a 0.005 conversion rate, you can cover your rent.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I always find it because every time when people want to start something new where there's no data, quote unquote. So, some people just simply jump in, but it sounds like you try to find that middle point a bit, right? Like you try to research the best way you can, but just sitting there observing the traffic. Right, and try to build your best guess, right? How many people are going to walk past the store? Correct.
That's one. Another way is I will look who is next to me. I'll go to SSM and I'll pull out all their numbers.
Right.
and see how much do they make in a month. Just roughly like that. And I'll probably talk to the people. I walk into the shop and talk to the shop assistant.
Right.
Oh, hi dear. How's sales today? How many pairs of shoes do you sell today? I'll ask this kind of questions.
Right.
And then when you're very friendly, the shopkeeper will blurt out to you, oh, how much do you usually do in a month, this shop? Oh, 500,000. Then you know.
Right.
You talk to the salespeople, talk to people on the ground. So what I'll do before I open the shop, I'll ask the left and right store next to me, how much sales you do in a month.
Right.
I'll ask the shopkeeper. They're very naive. They will tell you.
Right.
If you ask nicely. So I do a lot of I get my market intelligence doing that, or I'll try to probe by asking the management to give me ballpark figure, to do some benchmarking on what the other merchants in my similar trade are doing. And then from there you can make a decision already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then of course lastly one more way is I'm e-commerce first.
Right.
I have a website. So I have a lot of customer data. So I can see where are my customers located. So most of them are around this area, around the mall around Wanatama. So it was a no-brainer to open where my customers are. Right. And that was really good because it sort of complemented my e-commerce strategy, my online strategy, and now I have an offline strategy. So it becomes multi-channel. So like I said earlier, with the multiple touch points, conversions happen more frequently.
I see.
Also, I was told that, a customer has to see your brand 6 to 7 times before deciding to make a purchase on average.
Right.
So to me, I thought my rationale was to put my brand and make it very, very accessible and easy for people to buy, and so that customers keep seeing it so often that they eventually will naturally purchase my item. Right. So that was my rationale behind all these openings.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right. So the online to offline thing kind of reinforce each other.
Yes. So they you cannot do it in separate silos. It has to come together as an overall strategy. Right. Yeah.
Right. And I'm just so very curious. It sounds like, obviously on the surface sounds like a very smooth journey, but I'm sure you would have hit some very big obstacles along the way, right? What do you think is one of the biggest obstacles you've had to overcome, and how do you overcome it in this entire journey? Yeah,
there's so many obstacles. I think one of the biggest one was cash flow. In my early days, I was a cowboy. And I don't really count. I just open without thinking about my cash flow. And I always assume best case scenario. I don't know how to calculate worst case scenario.
Right.
So I ran out of in 2017, after opening my first store was in Wanatama. The second one was, I was so cowboy. I opened in Johor.
Oh, okay.
Really nuts. Yeah, wow. I actually got the guts to do it. I don't know how.
Wow.
You ask me now, back then really, I don't know, very stupid thinking. I don't know how I did it also. Right. The rationale was, far enough. New market.
I see.
But I was not ready operationally to operate 2 stores at very different geographical areas. And I was very new in retail. I don't know how to manage my retail employee. And managing retail manpower, retail talent, very different from managing your talent in the office,
Office-based, right, yes.
Very different, the culture is totally different, mindset very different, and there's a different way to manage. And I was totally new to it, and I wasn't a very good leader. Right. I don't know, because I wasn't really good, and everything was so chaotic.
I see.
My turnover rate was so high. People were resigning because they're not happy with me and stuff like that. And and then I opened my 3rd store in my town without even having my operation stabilized or my retail team stabilized. I go open in my town, and because it was a new mall that time, new malls are a bit tricky. Sometimes you need to, it's always wiser to wait for the mall to be established. It's not like opening in Wanatama where it's already very well established. You don't have to doubt. New malls, it can be a hit and miss sometimes. Right. So I think the early stage when I opened in my town, the footfall was not very good. Right. And I ended up losing money. So I was losing money for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't covering my rental. I wasn't even breaking even. Right. Running at loss, and my operations were so unstable. So I was so stressed. That was one of the most stressful periods in my life. Every night I would there were freaking stress. Yeah, so that was and I had cash flow problem, and I couldn't even pay my contractor my renovation money. I owe my contractor money for 1 year. Okay, wow. I couldn't pay him, and then I said I have no money. I exhausted all my cash, and the new store isn't making money. I need 50 ringgit sales a day. Can I owe you first? And he was nice enough to say, I believe that you won't run off, and you take your time to pay me lah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I couldn't pay him, and then I couldn't pay suppliers. So I called them one by one and say, hey, I have no money. Right. I mismanaged my cash flow.
Oh, wow.
and I don't have money to pay you. Can you give me more time?
Right.
They said, no problem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think that if anyone listening to this and you're going through a hard time and you got no money to pay your bills, my advice is to be honest. Call them before they call you and tell them why you cannot pay. Right. Rather than waiting for them to chase you night and day and get so irritated and flustered over you why you cannot pay up your debt. So that's what I did. I called them and they were pretty understanding. Right. So some of them were very nice. They said, okay, you just take your sweet time. Then those that, I'm also very tight, I need money. Then I'll label like who need it earlier, who need it later, and play along from there.
To manage that.
Yeah.
Right.
So cash flow, to answer your question, the toughest moment, the cash flow, when my team, I didn't have the right people with me. I didn't have a strong team. Operations was in a huge mess.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. One of the hardest, darkest moments in my life.
Right. And how do you eventually turn that around?
Eventually, okay, how did I turn that around? Eventually, okay, I went and talked to the management of the mall,
right,
and I tell them my sob story,
right,
which is true,
right,
and they were very kind. They actually gave me a rebate for my rental.
Oh, nice. Okay. So that helped you with cash flow.
Yeah, and then it helped me, and they were very nice, even though I was behind rent. Right. And thank God, like everything worked out.
Right. Business picked up also.
Yeah, now my town is doing so well. The footfall was amazing. I think the first 1 year was very unstable because the mall occupancy wasn't optimal yet. So in year 2 and year 3, we started to see the traffic was improving dramatically, and that's one of our best stores now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, things turned around. Yeah, the management did a very good job, and because when you're in a new mall, it's very challenging. When you're doing anything, it's like a new business.
I see.
A lot of problems will happen, and you need to rough it out and make sure you have enough of cash flow. Don't always assume that you open, you will make money. You need to have cash flow to tank losses for 12 months. Right. In any new store you open, just remember, lose money 12 months. Don't think of make only. You need to think of lose. So that's the one of the lessons that I learned the hard way.
Right. So it sounds like you don't always think in best case scenario.
Yes.
And also, sometimes when you open in a new mall, I guess you're sort of taking a risk with them, right?
Yes.
In a way, right? And then you might take some time to recover. And also this is specific to retail, I guess. If you're expanding, right? If you being physically close to the operations of the business is quite important.
Oh, yes.
Right? Which is what the Johor thing was. Are you still in Johor now? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we have 2 stores in Johor.
Okay.
Eon, the Brow City, and South Quay.
I see.
South Quay is near the border to Singapore. And why we open there is because we want to get some Singaporean customers.
Right.
Rather than opening in Singapore and paying Sing dollar rental, open in JB.
Right.
Yeah.
You can also kind of test market a little bit, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you do run into some challenges, the other thing I'm sort of hearing is that it's good to just be honest, right, with people upfront and see how because people appreciate the honesty. I guess earns you some credibility, lah.
Yes.
And then be flexible with you.
And then you know who is a really good partner, who really supports you when you're at your worst.
Right.
You see people's true color, lah. Those that you can see their true colors when you need help.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you obviously eventually expanded into like handbags, starting from shoes, right? How did you make that decision?
Okay, I think it was in 2016 when I opened One Tama, and then I noticed that every other footwear retailer also sells handbags.
I see.
Except me. I'm the only one that just only sells shoes. So I think that was a natural progression for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also realized that all the big brands, they will have a handbag assortment which complements their shoe collection. So I just watch, observe, and duplicate.
Right.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel. One thing I learned, do not reinvent the wheel. If you look at something and it's working, don't try to be too creative. There's a reason why it's done that way.
Right. There's a reason why the market is behaving this way.
Yes.
Right.
So if there's one advice I would say is never try to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if they have, you see like if all those famous shoe and handbag brands, shoe brands, they will have a certain percentage of handbags there. There's a reason.
I see.
Yeah.
Because I guess the customer, when they walk into a store like this, they're looking for both.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Right. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Also because shoes are challenging because you have like sizes.
Right.
We stock like from 34 all the way to 41.
Right.
Whereas handbag, there's no fit issue. And shoes, you have fitting issues.
I see.
Yeah, you have like people with narrow feet, broad feet, wide feet.
I see.
And then not everyone wants to buy high heels. Some people want to buy flats. Some people want to buy mid heels. So there's always a fit issue.
I see.
So there's a reason why they have bags in a shoe store. It's because you cannot have every single your entire offering cannot be like too size dependent or too fit driven.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think I know what you mean, because like even online sometimes, right, I hesitate when I have to buy something like shoes, but if I buy like a bag, it's very easy because I know like it's just one
Correct.
size. Right.
Correct.
Yes.
Precisely that.
Yes.
And that sort of like so that's why we started having bags.
Right.
Also to complement our shoe, also to upsell. So we, at that, when we opened our retail store in 2016, we already had like a customer base. And I think you mentioned, you and your wife, you guys bought wedding shoes from me. We did so well in the wedding category. And then we had an aha moment. I mean, my friend said to me, how many people get married 4 times in their life? And you're selling wedding shoes, you're not going to get any repeat customers at all. And you're working so hard to acquire new customers. Every time you sell a product, it has to be a new customer.
Yeah.
So I thought, if I could make them, all my customers who bought my wedding shoes from me, return and buy different items from me, different types of shoes, or even handbags. So that was the rationale. I had a base.
Yes.
So that's why when we launched our handbag line,
Right.
it was a meteoric rise for us.
Right.
It was just a boom all the way up because we had very loyal base of customers. Like example, like your wife, she bought our shoes. If she likes the shoe, she likes the comfort, she thinks our quality is not bad, she would definitely not hesitate to try a second product with us. Yeah. So the rationale was to increase the customer lifetime value with the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Makes sense. Right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's just interesting. Yeah. People only get married once. Well, most people are. At least.
Yeah.
Would you also say? But it sounds like selling shoes is more complicated than selling handbags.
Yes.
Would you? So therefore, selling handbags is easier, is it, as a product?
I won't say it's easy, but you don't have fit issue, but you have different types of challenges.
I see.
Yeah, you have a different challenge. Like it has to be durable. It has to be, the material has to be very lasting.
Right.
Because people, if they use your bag and it just breaks, women, they put everything in the bag, it becomes like stone. Yeah, so you need to make sure you really deliver high quality, good quality products.
Right.
So it's a different challenge selling bags. But shoes, we found our niche, which is wedding, and we do really, really well in that category.
I see.
Yeah, and we just expanded for that. We cannot tackle every single category. Like sport shoes is definitely something that we are not able to do.
Right.
I won't say we're not able. We don't see ourselves excelling in that category. So I guess we're just picking our battles, and we focus on products which we feel we have an edge doing. Right. Yeah, like shoes. Yes, there's a challenge on the fit, but handbags, the challenge is totally different.
I see.
Yeah, everything is hard. Nothing is easy.
Right.
We just pick which kind of difficulty we want to face.
I see.
Yes.
So when you started the handbag line, you sort of have to relearn or learn something completely new again.
Yes.
Right. And how did you learn that? Did you ask someone, or did you Google it?
Okay, I think one thing about me, which I think is a good habit. I think I like to learn, and I'm very observant. Right. I will go, I will look, I will observe, and I'll think. And if I do not know, I will ask. So I have a lot of mentors who are in retail, so I always ask them questions. Yeah, I think having mentors really, really help. And of course, do my own research.
Right.
And how I figure out, I think a lot of trial and error. There's no shortcut. I mean, I've launched designs which fail. People don't buy them. I've launched things that get sold out in minutes. And everything else in between.
Right.
So I think the most important thing is whatever you do, you need to do post-mortem. If it fails, you need to look through and you need to understand why it failed. If it succeeds, you cannot get too big-headed. You need to analyze why it did so well. So I think how we work in Christy Ng is that we look in, if it does well, I think we're very data-driven. We're very analytical. My team is always looking to reasons why something does well, why something doesn't do well. We look at our competitors as well. And we see why are they failing, why are they doing well. And we try to do like our own internal SWOT analysis.
I see.
I think that's very important. You need to observe and compare and keep pushing yourself to do better. Don't be trapped in complacency or in some comfort zone.
Right. And as you mentioned just now, right? I find it interesting. Just to say, sometimes when you look at the market, see how the market's behaving, and therefore, you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time, right?
Yes.
You can just, this is what the customer wants, market behavior, so you go into that market. But when you do that, there's also a different kind of challenge, because if the market is like this, it also means very competitive.
Correct.
Usually, right? So how do you sort of manage that? Because I'm sure, you're in the fashion space there. Also, you're talking about local players, international players. It's so crowded, right? So
Yes.
how do you kind of try to stand out?
Very good question. So in the beginning, when I was much smaller and have no capital, I started this business with 10,000 ringgit. That was all the capital I had.
Wow.
In my living room. Okay, I was very resourceful. Use everything you have.
Under the mattress,
Yeah, 10,000 ringgit. So how, to answer your question, I think I found my blue ocean at a very early stage. So I did wedding shoes, like what you said. So I realized that because I was a bridesmaid for my best friend's wedding, and I accompanied her to so many different shopping malls and so many different shoe stores to look for wedding shoes, and she could not find anything. That's probably how you and your wife ended up at my place. It wasn't easy to find, right, back then?
Right. I think she sort of heard about you, actually. She
Okay.
went to look for you.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people come look for us. I would say that, okay, now our products have extremely good quality and they're very well made. But back then, now definitely better than before. You know, I think because we stood out in terms of our offering, because the giants, okay, my story is really a David and Goliath kind of story, you know.
Right.
So I was David going up against Goliath, you know, there's a Red Sea, like what you say, don't reinvent the wheel, it's a Red Sea. And I felt the only way I could stand out in this red ocean was to, you know, carve a little niche of my own, create my own blue ocean. So the wedding shoes were my blue ocean, because the giants were not doing it at that point of time. There were very few brands focusing on
Specializing on wedding shoes.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so I saw a gap, and that was a lot of unmet demands, because when I follow my friend, you know, wedding shoe hunting across the different malls in Malaysia, then I realized that this is a huge gap. There's a gap that I could fulfill, and that will help me be memorable.
Yes.
So apart from like finding the lowest cost to convert, highest return on ad spend, you know, all this kind of stuff, good quality product, you need to do something that makes you memorable. Like until today, you remember my wedding shoes, you know,
Yes,
from
that's
us.
right, yeah.
So I think that's how I created my blue ocean and stood out against all the public listed shoe companies lah. You know.
Right.
Yeah. And then once I had enough of capital and people already know me for that specific vertical that I'm really good at, because when you're not good, you don't have money and you're new, just focus on one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to be really good at one thing, or not, you're not good at anything.
Yes, that's right.
So after I was pretty confident with my wedding shoes already, and then I did a research. Malaysia, there's only like 250,000 to 300,000 couples getting married a year. So that's my market size.
Right.
My addressable market size is so small.
Right.
So and then because once I did that really well, then I had the bullets, or I would say a war chest, or maybe more funds to try different products or expand my product line. Because when you expand product, there's a lot of R&D, sunk costs.
Yes.
You need to think really carefully about what is the next product you want to do. So when we had that niche carved out for us, we had the confidence and the money, then we started doing other types of shoes. And then you know, from all the feedback and the reviews that we get from our wedding shoe customers, the top thing that I always hear is, your shoes are very, very comfortable. That's why we like to buy from you.
Right.
So I realized that everyone can make beautiful shoes, but not many people can make comfortable high heel shoes. So I guess that is my identity, and I discovered this based on my customers' feedback. So I started to focus on working shoes, like leather and comfort shoes, where people can go back to work and be very comfortable. Yeah, so it's like after wedding, have to go back to work. Must spend so much on a wedding, go back to reality, right? If you go to office, so you need a good pair of office shoe. So I got the idea of the product roadmap from my customer feedback. So to answer your question, is like how I stand out, right? I go niche by niche and be really, really good at what I'm doing. Sharpen my skills to the maximum sharp lah.
Right.
Before I do more general products like other types of shoes, which I'm not really famous, not very known for.
Right.
But you need to have a core pillar. So I have my core pillars very well figured out before branching into items where, like I said, don't reinvent the wheel, the mass market products where I have to compete with all the giants.
Right.
Because my foundation is strong, my pillars are there already, so I can afford to go and fight with the red ocean with them.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
you kind of start with the niche and you'll be very good at it.
Very good at it.
Right. And then something that I guess, all the giants sell these things, but they don't really focus on it. So
Yes.
you build that space, you build that brand. And with that brand and I guess some loyal customers that like your product, you can slowly grow it out from there, right? With that
Yeah.
strong foundation.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot about familiarity. Like a lot of them, they come back because they're already familiar. So I just, after that, after you get past the first 2-3 key products that they like and they're very familiar, they have very good experience, selling them a handbag or a wallet or a coin purse later on, it's all about, it's very easy. It flows because they're really familiar.
Right.
It's like food, we love Milo because we've been drinking it since we're little kids, where the Milo truck will go to school and give you free Milo.
Right.
So it's very nostalgic, and it's all about what you're familiar with.
Right. No, I can relate to it. I mean, we started 10 years ago. I remember our first concept was also like, at the time, Gen Y was the youth. Now it's Gen Z, right? So it's like Gen Y, culture, a lot of tech startups. So it was also a niche that we did very well in. And from that loyal base, we kind of grew to what we are today. So it sounds like a lot of companies that are starting out, this is quite a good strategy to kind of break into any market, right? Like you do very well on one particular niche first.
Correct.
Using that, you can grow out, right?
Yeah, when I first heard of Hiredly, why we used it was because we can hire people who would want to join startups like ourselves.
Yes.
Because not everyone wants to join a startup.
Yes.
We were taught to join MNCs.
Yes, that's right.
And I felt the talent that we had, that you guys had on Hiredly, they were more adventurous and more risk-taking.
More entrepreneurial, yes. They want to work. So yes. In fact, I would say like when we eventually got MNCs using us, it was because a lot of them wanted to hire this group of people, right?
Yes.
And they realized that a lot of them are going to this platform.
Yes.
And just now you mentioned that one of the ways you sort of figure out how to overcome challenges, right, or how to build the business is you had like mentors, like that you could ask in retail. Do you is there any one in particular that I guess who are they lah? I guess the number one is anyone you particularly speak to a lot, and I'm more curious about how you got them to mentor you, because if you ask people, a lot of people say I want a mentor, but like not every mentor is going to take out anyone to mentor. I feel like
correct. Yeah. Really, really good question. I think mentorship is about chemistry. The person need to like you or at least enjoy spending time with you, or at least enjoy talking to you to mentor you.
Right.
You need to be a likable person.
Right.
If your attitude is like, if you're not a very likable person, it's very hard to get mentors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I have people who actually ask me, can you guide me? Can you help me? But you need to follow my timing. So sometimes you need to know where you stand, So I think those people who say they can't get mentors, and actually everyone is so willing to help. Right. Everyone is willing. If I need help, I ask you nicely. Right. If I ask you sweetly, very high chance you will help me, or you give me the information that I need from you. Right. I just need to ask you nicely, or maybe buy you a cup of coffee. Right. Then you will tell me. Yes. You just need to, Chinese say 識做人, know how to be a human. Right. But we need a basic etiquette and basic communication skills. I think everyone can find mentors. I think the problem is like some people they think the world owes them something. Then I have people, like I said, people. I said I need you to mentor me with this, but you need to follow my schedule. I'm only free at 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
So you don't know where you stand. Right. Then it's very hard to look at yourself in the mirror lah. Right. When if you feel you cannot get a mentor, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself what you're doing wrong. Because people are just so willing to help, and advice is so abundant, and there's so many accelerators. There's so many like. You can even you can just text someone in like on LinkedIn and ask question. They will reply. So if you ask nicely, right? Yeah. So I think
it's true. I agree. I mean, there's advice everywhere, and I know a lot of people actually are very actively trying to mentor other people. So I guess when you have to sort of approach it as maybe don't be sincere, maybe don't be too entitled to the mentorship, and kind of also give that kind of. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. I don't think it's respect, but maybe it's sincerity.
Yes, sincerity.
So because I think even for a lot of mentors, they don't want to waste their time.
Correct.
So they want to spend their time people who are very serious, who really want to grow their career, whatever is on to grow, right?
Correct. Right. Yeah, I always love to guide and help people who are hungry. Yeah. You don't need to buy me a expensive gift or what. You just buy me a cup of coffee and you are very hungry, you're very serious, you're desperate to succeed, I'll mentor you anytime.
Yes.
It's the attitude, the eagerness, and the discipline.
Yes.
Because no one likes to mentor people who have no discipline.
Right.
It's a waste of our breath.
Right. You want to mentor a serious person. Right?
Correct.
This person really means it. Right?
Yeah. You need to be serious, you have discipline, and then you need to be very focused. cannot be all over the place, and then so I think one of the mentors I had in my career early on is Mr. Tan Tiam Hock. He's passed on. So he founded a cosmetic company called Silky Girl, and I met him in a business competition, and he's very sharp talking, he's very direct. If you're doing something stupid, he'll tell you to your face. So I like mentors like that, and I love his style of being so brutally honest, and he's like taking a knife and stab you lah. He's really good at it. And I like his advice because it's so real, and if I'm dreaming, his words will wake me up.
Right.
Yeah, and then the time I told you about the My Town store and I New Mall and I was losing money, then he said, I already told you, New Mall, don't go. You never listen. Your problem lah.
Right.
Yeah. So this kind of mentorship is so rare and it's so real, and I guess his brutal honesty and his sharp talking manners, right, really molded me to. I would say he shaped a lot of my thinking how I think, how I analyze things. I got it from him lah. From all my conversations with him, every time when I do something stupid, he'll tell me off.
Right.
I think that sort of like trained my thinking skills.
Right.
But I realized a lot of if you want a mentor, you need to accept when people tell you bad things about yourself, tell you things that you don't like to hear. Some people cannot take it. They want a mentor who only tells them nice things. Then they get a pet lah. Don't get a mentor.
Right. One of our core values in Highly is called communicate with radical candor. But in short, it means just be direct.
Yeah.
As long as it's coming from a good place, like you're trying to help this person, and therefore you're being direct.
Yes.
And I also find that this is also personal experience. I also have mentors, and just like that's like the mentor you mentioned, that they are very direct, they are very brutal sometimes. If they think I'm not up to mark, they just tell me off.
Yeah.
And you actually appreciate people who are very honest in this way.
Yes.
Sometimes whether you agree or don't agree with them, you actually want to know what they really think.
Yes.
Then using that information, then it helps guide you, right? What decision you need to make.
Correct.
Right?
You don't need someone who just checks your ego every time, tell you things that you want to hear. Then there's no room for improvement.
Yes, right. In some sense, if you're doing everything right, you don't need a mentor also much. So there must be things that you're not doing right, and you need people to point it out to you.
Yes,
right?
correct.
And you have to be willing to hear it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the things how a potential mentor might evaluate if they want to mentor someone.
Yes.
They will see how people react to their feedback.
Correct.
Right. That's how they would look at it. And I mean, you how long have you been running this company? Is it like 12 years, 13 years?
Coming to 12 years.
12 years now.
Yeah. Oh my God. 12 years. There's a decade, right? Decade is 10 years.
Yes.
12 years is what?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Over a decade. Right?
Over a decade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's been a long time.
How do you keep going? Like, how do you keep through all these ups and downs? How do you keep that? I don't know whether that motivation. I use the word motivation. How do you keep motivated?
Oh, okay. I love solving problems, and how do I keep motivated? No, I think I really genuinely love what I do. I'm crazy over handbags and shoes. So even if I'm not doing this business, I'll be out in some shopping mall buying them. So there's no difference. Better just make money out of it, right? Better just put the shopaholic-ness into some good use.
Right.
I guess our mission is to create good products, where beautiful shoes and bags, good quality products, which everyone can enjoy and things that people love. I think what gives me that dopamine hit is when I see a customer or a person using my product, walking around. That gives me a lot of satisfaction. Right. So every day I wake up with the goal of creating more beautiful products, which customers I don't care where I go, I walk on the street, I'll see my product everywhere. So that's our goal.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not really about making money anymore. We are very, very comfortable now.
Right.
It's more about creating something so beautiful that the world will enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And earlier when I asked you about overcoming barriers, obviously you shared like how you logically try to figure out how to solve that problem. But I'm very curious about the emotional aspect as well, because you imagine right, sometimes when you're going through like cash flow issues.
Oh yeah, it's
like
bad.
All your hard work is on the line, right? Like how do you manage that emotional journey and try to overcome that?
That's such a roller coaster. So being an entrepreneur is a very lonely journey, and not many people understand the roller coaster of emotions that you're going through. When you have no money, is damn depressing, and you always pay everyone first. You are the last one who gets paid. So I was in that situation for many, many years. You know, how I manage it, I think not very good. No, I think...
Censored.
yeah. How do I manage it? I think surrounding yourself with positive people to uplift you, you know. When you have problems, no point you sit at home and cry and everything, you know. You just go out and meet people who have been there, done it, tell them your problem, and think of ways how to resolve. Because when you hit rock bottom, right, it can't get any worse. So don't worry. If you're in a, I would quote unquote, shitstorm, don't worry, it can't get any worse already. So just think how to climb out of the hole that you dug yourself into.
Right. Is that kind of like the self-talk you give yourself?
Because you sad also no use. You depressed also no one's going to pity you. You just got bills to pay tomorrow. You got no other choice.
Right.
So it's either you swim or you sink. That's it. So for me, I think it's very hard. So I think what helped me go through that storm is, I think, friends, mentors. You know, I had a lot of good friends who also other entrepreneurs. So we support each other emotionally, and we give each other advice or help. You know, it was once I was so broke I couldn't even pay my my deposit for one of my retail stores. My friend, I was so broken that time. My friend said, "Okay, you know what? Here's 1 million. You just take first." So I have friends who actually...
Oh, what? Oh, yeah. I find friends like this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should restart this interview and just focus on this question.
Yeah. Also a mentor, also my friend. You know, and he said, here's some cash, just take it. I know you are really, really bad now, but I believe in you. You pay me back when you can, but I don't want you to lose this store. I help you with money, and I know you won't fail. Wow, this is such a big... You really trust me, Wow. No black and white, you know, just banging money to me.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I have this kind of friend, really high quality, my mentor who also, so if you have, mentors, I mean, if they are very, very loaded, they can help you.
Right. But you need them to want to mentor you in the first place.
Yeah, you need to be honest, you need to be sincere, you need to make do with your promises. Like if you lend money, if you borrow money from someone, you need to pay back, you know, things like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I think when you're at your worst and someone offers to help you pay up your debts, I think that's really good friendship or mentorship.
Okay.
You need good quality people in your life. So I always say you're the average of the closest 5 people.
I believe that deeply also.
Yeah. So I think when I was really doing badly, all I did was just mix with really smart people who are smarter than me. Because people who are smarter than me will be able to solve my problem. Right. That's very simple thinking. And just keep speaking with them, spend more time with them, and the more you see them, hopefully your brain will improve, your intelligence will increase.
I mean, it's not just that, you know, it's not so much just the resources and the network, but just that emotional or their perspective of looking at problems also very deep.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It helps you overcome it also.
And then one thing I learned, humans suffer more in their own imagination than in reality.
Right.
So most of the suffering you have it stems from your own imagination. Is you thinking that it's such a huge problem. But when you talk to someone more senior or more experienced, they're like, huh? Like that is a problem, you know? So I think that really helps shift my perspective, because I had a lot of very, very horrible problems in my life, so many horrible problems. And every time when I tell them to someone who is more senior than me, smarter than me, they look at me and say, you sound like an idiot. Then I say, yeah. And then their words really shift I start to shift gears, and maybe it's snap out. It's actually not a problem. Right. I only imagine it. I'm only torturing myself in my own head. Right. So this is something I learned, and I want to share with everybody. Remember, you suffer more in your own imagination than you actually suffer in reality.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one way to kind of do that is sometimes you need other people to tell you, right?
Yes.
To help you pass yourself, right?
Correct.
Let's try to. I love that story. What is the just one last thing to kind of wrap up this chat, So what advice would you give someone who's young, let's say young, they're ambitious, right? They've got all these big dreams.
Okay.
But they feel so limited by their circumstances. They feel that I don't have that person's going to give me $1 million. You know, I don't have this, I don't have that. What advice would you give them?
You know, you don't need money to make money, actually. You know, I started this with $10,000, and we have passed we're no longer an SME anymore in terms of revenue. Right. Yeah. And all this within a decade. So I believe that you just need to use your ingenuity. Even though you don't have capital, it's not important. Don't be deterred. A little bit of creativity, be very audacious, be thick-skinned, and just be really creative. Think out of the box. There's always ways to make money. You don't need to have capital to make money, actually.
Right.
A lot of capital to make money. I've seen people, speaking from personal experience, we've already grown so much from 10,000 ringgit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even the story just now about, the mentor who had 1 million, this obviously came after, right? But the beginning days, you didn't have a lot, right? So you built something with...
Yeah, I think a genuine friendship and relationship with a mentor. So this was in 2018. I had money problem, and my mentor offered to help me bridge.
Right.
Give you 1 million to bridge the mess that you created for yourself. And another thing, a very important thing I want to share is, so that $1 million story is very important because that I still own 100% of the business. I've not raised any external funds. And I was very young and I didn't know how to utilize banking instruments or utilize the bank to leverage on the bank to get capital.
Yes.
So this mentor of mine told me, the $1 million mentor, he said, never quarrel with your banker. The bank is your God. You must treat the bank like a god, like a VIP, You must treat the bank really, really well because that's where you go when you need capital. And, bank borrowings are the cheapest form of capital rather than giving out equity.
Right.
Make use of the bank and you will go the distance. Right. And I think since then, I learned how to make use of the bank,
Right.
The bank is your most important partner, When you want to scale from like 1 million ringgit a year to 100 million ringgit a year, you need to go to the banks. It's definitely cheaper than raising money from private equity or raising money from venture capital, Unless, so I've learned how to get really, really smart capital or easy capital to grow my business. So there are a lot of amazing government grants and also government backed loans in the country. You can go to MIDF, So I've taken a lot of financing from MIDF. I think it's really, really good. They've given for women entrepreneurs, you get 3% reducing balance. Right. Where on earth you get such rate? Right. You go loan shark, you won't get this. You refinance your house, so you won't get this kind of very favorable business-friendly interest rates. So there are a lot of resources in Malaysia and capital is abundant and the borrowing cost is actually very, very low. Right. So when I learned how to borrow money from banks, and the more you borrow, you pay back, you have a very good credit rating, you can borrow more and more and more and more and more money, So you just keep borrowing, right. and then you use that money and scale. To scale, right. Then it happens. So when I started to know how to use all these tools to example like bank guarantees. When I open the store, instead of using my own cash, I use bank guarantees. Right. When I learn how to use the bank, then I start to see that my returns are very, very high. The money suddenly got legs, Right. So I hope that everyone can benefit from my learning. I know how to use the banks to stretch your dollar.
Yes. Yeah. And it sounds like, for anyone who's listening, you feel like, you're limited by your circumstances, right? In a way, like Christy, like yourself, you sort of learn these things later.
Yes.
So as you build the company. But so in a way, like you start something, you need to start something and maybe you try to solve a specific problem for a specific customer, right? Like try to dominate a niche. And all those things, like whether you're limited by money or whether you're limited by experience or advice, right? All those things are abundant.
Correct.
Once you start to take it seriously, right? You are become like a very serious person, you're dedicated, you're very disciplined, you try to build it. The mentors will come, the capital will come, but you need to kind of put your 2 feet in some sense in the beginning,
correct.
Right? Because why would everyone wants to build a very successful career, but why would it come to you, right? Unless you are very serious and
correct.
You kind of put yourself out there and try to do it.
Correct.
Right? And it will find you in a way, right?
Yes.
Eventually.
Yeah, everyone wants to help a hardworking person who's serious about the matter. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, Christy, for sharing your story here. I feel I learned so much from it, and also as someone who's met a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm building a company here myself, right? I find that there are certain patterns, or like, let's say, even the story is different, but there are certain patterns to how everything is built.
Yes.
And I really, when I hear what you're saying, it also makes me feel like, oh, okay, it sounds like we are also kind of going on the right direction. But I'm so inspired by what you're building here. You're obviously very, very well known now.
Thank you.
Yes, in Malaysia, and hearing how you actually started to what it is now, it's pretty amazing. So, we hope you continue, and for everyone listening here, we also hope that you've learned something really good, you find useful, and check out christyng.com also.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris.